Modern household energy use is organized around centralized systems that are largely invisible during normal operation. Electricity enters homes through established infrastructure, governed by regional grids, regulatory frameworks, and pricing models that adjust over time. For most households, interaction with this system is limited to consumption and payment. The operational complexity remains external. Engagement with energy typically increases only when disruption occurs. Price fluctuations, outages, or rising bills prompt temporary attention. In response, people often attempt adjustments that operate within the same structure, reducing usage, switching providers where possible, or adopting efficiency habits that require ongoing discipline. These approaches redistribute effort to the household level without altering the underlying dependency on centralized supply. Alternative energy formats have emerged as partial responses to this structure. Solar installations, backup generators, and battery systems represent attempts to localize energy production or storage. Each introduces new layers of complexity: installation requirements, maintenance schedules, weather dependency, or fuel logistics. While these systems shift where effort is applied, they do not eliminate it. Within this landscape, energy independence is often discussed as an outcome, but structurally, it remains constrained by capital cost, technical knowledge, physical space, and regulatory compatibility. As a result, many households remain positioned as passive endpoints in a larger system, interacting with energy primarily as a recurring expense, rather than an actively managed process. This context creates space for informational products that do not deliver energy themselves, but instead describe alternative ways energy might be generated, amplified, or managed at smaller scales. These products operate at the level of instruction and conceptual framing rather than infrastructure. The energy revolution system belongs to the category of digital instructional blueprints. It is not a physical device nor a pre-assembled system. Structurally, it is a downloadable information package that presents schematics, explanations, and procedural guidance related to a specific energy-related concept. Delivery is digital. Access is provided through files that can be viewed on common devices without requiring specialized software. The product does not ship components, tools, or materials. Instead, it positions itself as a reference framework for constructing or understanding a device using externally sourced parts. The format is instructional rather than interactive. There is no software interface, monitoring dashboard, or real-time feedback mechanism. Engagement occurs through reading, interpretation, and optional physical assembly based on the information presented. The system is structurally designed to explain a method, not to perform it autonomously. It does not connect to existing electrical infrastructure by default, nor does it include certification, testing, or validation processes. It does not claim to replace utilities, manage load distribution, or integrate with grid-level systems. Equally important is what the format does not attempt to do. It does not offer professional installation, regulatory guidance tailored to specific jurisdictions, or guarantees regarding compatibility with household wiring standards. It does not provide ongoing updates tied to changes in electrical codes or energy markets. Its scope remains fixed at the level of explanation and demonstration. Interaction with the energy revolution system is primarily one-directional. The user reads or reviews the material. There is no required login cadence, subscription rhythm, or repeated prompts. Usage does not depend on daily engagement once the information has been accessed. Time involvement is front-loaded. The primary commitment occurs during initial review of the materials. After that, continued interaction depends on whether the user chooses to reference the instructions again or attempt physical implementation. The product itself does not impose repetition. Repeatability exists in the sense that the materials can be revisited, reread, or interpreted multiple times. However, the system does not change across uses. There are no adaptive elements or personalized pathways. Each user encounters the same content. Constraints are inherent to the format. Any practical application depends on external factors, availability of materials, technical interpretation, physical space, and local regulations. The product does not mediate these dependencies. It assumes that the reader navigates them independently. The system also relies on the user's ability to distinguish between conceptual explanation and practical execution. The informational boundary is clear. The product provides diagrams and descriptions, not operational oversight or verification. The primary simplification offered by this format is access to a consolidated explanation. Instead of searching across fragmented sources, the information is presented as a single cohesive blueprint. This reduces informational scatter, but does not reduce practical uncertainty. What remains unresolved is feasibility in specific contexts. The materials do not eliminate questions about safety standards, electrical compliance, or performance under varying conditions. These considerations exist outside the scope of the product. The format may feel insufficient for those who expect turnkey solutions or externally validated systems. Because it stops at instruction, it does not absorb responsibility for outcomes, modifications, or adaptations. Users seeking automation, certification, or professional accountability will not find those elements embedded here. There is also a trade-off between narrative framing and technical rigor. The system references historical and conceptual origins to contextualize the method, but this does not substitute for empirical testing or peer review. Interpretation remains an active task. By design, the product avoids closing these gaps. Its structure maintains a separation between explanation and execution, leaving the transition between the two undefined. Among energy-related products, the energy revolution system sits closer to conceptual documentation than to hardware or software solutions. It exists alongside books, manuals, and technical guides rather than installed systems. Its position relative to other formats cannot be fully assessed without direct inspection of the materials themselves. The level of technical detail, clarity of schematics, and assumptions made by the instructions are not fully knowable from descriptions alone. A complete understanding requires examining how the information is presented, how steps are sequenced, and how much prior knowledge is assumed. These qualities determine whether the system functions as a theoretical reference or a practical guide. At this level, the product remains defined by its format rather than its effect. It outlines an approach without resolving its application. The informational loop remains open, dependent on direct engagement with the material itself.